So today we're going to talk about 3 causes that will cause bicep tendonitis. And if you don't look at this as why it's happening, then you're just treating a symptom of today. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you have pain in the front of the shoulder or you've been told you have bicep tendonitis, you're going to want to watch this video. Hi, my name is Stefani. I'm with Empower Physical Therapy, and we help clients avoid surgery, injections, and medications while getting their life back. We put the pieces of the puzzle together and help clients that have been to 4, 5, 6, 7 different types of treatments elsewhere and not get solutions, find solutions at our office. And the big reason why that happens is we don't treat symptoms. We are always questioning, why did this happen? What can we look at that is creating some of these issues? And when you look at bicep tendonitis, it's another one of those. The bicep tendonitis happened because of something, a positioning or how you're training it, or how you're recruiting muscles. And so we've got to look at the position of things to really figure out, like, why did this bicep tendonitis happen in the first place? If you just go and inject it, do soft tissue, ultrasound, dry needling, and you're not getting into why it happens, then you are just treating a symptom. So we're going to talk about 3 different reasons that people can get bicep tendonitis, especially when they're not really sure what they did. It just started hurting them one day. It's not necessarily from lifting. It could be from lifting, because they could be lifting in a very poor posture where those muscles aren't used to taking most of the load. And if you're in those poor postures, then this can happen as well. So the first thing that happens, that we have to look at from a bicep tendonitis perspective, is we've got to look at the ribs. And why is that? If you look at your shoulders really rounded forward like this, which is a lot of times that's what you'll notice, is the shoulders more rounded. So every time you use it, you are basically rubbing up against here, and it doesn't like that at all. It likes to be back in this position. So now you aren't getting the rubbing. It's basically being used the way it's supposed to be used. But when your ribs get rounded, what happens is our ribs are supposed to expand and they're supposed to come back in. When we use our shoulder muscles, that shoulder blade should be coming down and in. But what happens is when it can't come down and in, it'll go out like this. We'll see a lot of winging of that shoulder blade off that side, because you just can't even get the muscles to fire, because you can't even get the shoulder blade in the position that it needs to be in to get those muscles to fire. So your shoulder will end up being out to the side. When that happens, you recruit a lot through here, and you recruit a lot through the pec, and you'll basically be rubbing up against that bicep tendon. So the first thing that we look at is, how do the ribs move on that side? So if the ribs aren't moving, we start working on mobilizations. We start teaching them how to work on stretches at home while we're working on some manual stuff. The second phase, so we always look at ribs first, neck, ribs. And the second phase, if those are moving, then we start looking at how tight is that pec in the front, especially if the shoulder's rounded like this. We've had many times where people have had maybe a shoulder dislocation, or just maybe they're just weaker on this side, so they're really recruiting through this pec muscle. And if you look at it, our pec comes here and it attaches to the inside of the arm, and when it's tight, it's going to pull you more internal like this, to where your shoulder is going to be more rounded. Again, bicep tendon does not like being that. It's attached right up through here. It does not like being in that position. So we've got to look at tightness in that pec, open that up. And that's the second thing that we have to look at. The third thing, if all that's looking good, the ribs are looking good, the pec is looking good, then we need to look at how the mechanics of how are the muscles working together, because you'll find that they'll work a little bit more, like the upper may work a little bit more, but you can't get that shoulder blade to come down and in, which is really working on that lower trap. You also might not be able to get the shoulder blade to come down against the ribs. That's the serratus anterior, which is on the inside of that shoulder blade that helps pull it into where the ribs are. These are all muscles that we have to look at and develop and work, get them working together as a team, so that basically whenever you're using it, you're using the correct muscles. You're not compensating where you're going to get some issues in that front part of that shoulder. We've had many people that have come through our office where the doctors wanted to do a surgery, or they've done injections and it didn't really work, or it did work, but they came back a year later saying that it's all back again, and that's because they're not looking at these pieces. I always say where the side of the pain is often not where the source of the problem is coming from. You've got to look at everything together and how it works. Otherwise, you're just treating symptoms, and this is what happens a lot in our medical system because doctors only have 10 minutes with you. They don't look at all these things. All they want to do is do an image and go, oh yeah, you have some tendonitis and we need to address that. Great, but why is it happening? You have to get to that question. Why is this happening? What are you doing in your daily activities that is causing some of these issues? So in other videos, we'll talk about some things that we can do to start helping with the ribs, to help with the pec, to help with some strengthening exercises that you can do. I'll be putting together some other videos that will help you address some of those things. So make sure you stay tuned, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like. If you have any comments, make sure you put it in the comment section, and we will be there to answer any questions as well as anything else that you guys need. So we will see you next time.